the Daily Grind. My name is Krystyn Johnson, your fun and friendly host. We are on episode 31, the very best one yet. So shout out to my podcast network, Ambiguous Production, and fellow pods on there, including UMAB Bro, the Sam Bustle Podcast, and GDP, Goal Driven Professionals. We're currently in the works and soon to be added to SoundCloud and iHeartRadio as well. So we're closing in on the month and want to personally say great job to all listeners out there who celebrated National Random Acts of Kindness Week and have become inspired to do small things and make a big difference. I shared with you last episode what's on my daily grind, but today I have a new special guest on to share hers and her story. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Krystyn Johnson. So Krystyn, she is a professional makeup artist who specializes in commercial print, production, corporate, TV and video, special events, beauty, and fashion. She currently lives and works in the Chicago area and travels nationally and internationally for work as well. So overall, great person to have on our show today. So welcome, Krystyn. Woo!
Thank you so much for having me, Kelly. I really appreciate it. I'm honored to have this opportunity to share my story with you and your audience.
Definitely, yeah. I'm just as excited as you are to have you on the Daily Grind and just learning from your background and everything. I think you're a really great fit for our show and our listeners to inspire them out in the world. So I think maybe let's just get started or just jump right into it in regards to introducing yourself to our listeners. So who are you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Well, like you said, I'm a professional makeup artist. I've been at this now for almost 13 years. A little background on me is that I actually come from a corporate background. So after I graduated from college, which was, back in 2002, I was working in the hospitality industry. I was in hotel sales where my actual title was business travel sales manager, and I did that for about 5-6 years. And then I absolutely loved my job. I loved what I was doing. I loved the company that I was working for. However, I just knew that I had no desire on ever being like the director of sales, and climbing the corporate ladder. And I was wearing a business suit to work every day, and I was just like, this is just not how I envisioned my life as when I was a child, as an adult. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to be doing, but I just knew that wasn't necessarily it. Again, going back to not having the desire to be a director of sales, I didn't want my success to be contingent on that of the success of a team. So I was like, well, what am I working towards? What am I hustling for then? If I'm not, trying to get to this level, not being fulfilled. So I'm just like, all right, well, I wasn't married. I'm still not married. Didn't have any kids. So I was like, you know what? Let's figure this out. And I literally just kind of quit.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely had a plan in terms of, I say I had a plan. I say that loosely. I saved up about 6 months worth of living expenses, and I subletted my apartment, and I moved back in with my father in my 20s. That was a challenge in itself, but it just afforded me the opportunity to figure out what I wanted to do without having to worry about keeping a roof over my head, which I'm so grateful that he allowed me to do that for that year. And I just kind of set up shop for a week at a local coffee house, and I'm a big list person. So I made some lists. I was just people watching, and I started to journal. And again, I made some lists. I thought about what did I enjoy doing as a child, because I feel like that's when you're your most authentic self. And I recall I used to get so excited when my aunts would babysit me, and I would just be able to play in their makeup for hours. And then so that was definitely on my list, makeup, and then I made a list of what would my ideal career look like. Not necessarily saying what I wanted to be doing, because like I said, that was the purpose of me kind of taking this time, was to figure out, well, what is my next step here? What am I doing? I just left my career, But so I thought about what my ideal career would look like in terms of I wanted to be able to travel, I wanted to make my own schedule, I wanted to, generate this kind of income and et cetera, et cetera. And then I started doing some, my due diligence and getting on the internet and doing some research, and come to find out, like, makeup artist, that was an actual career. And I'm, reaching out to people, sending out emails and chatting with a few people on the phone, and I had no idea that that was an actual real career. But after a couple of, chats and whatnot, I was like, this sounds like this sounds perfect. This sounds like what I want to do. I'm going to be a makeup artist.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how it started. So again, that was almost 13 years now.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, I was just kind of trying to read your bio. You've been a decent amount in the industry, and you, like you mentioned before, you started in a corporate setting, and now you're a makeup artist. So I guess kind of transitioning careers, or did you? You mentioned you were interested playing makeup when as a child, but did you um, become more interested in doing this as a career through different life experiences? So, like, once you figured out like what you wanted to do, did you take classes? You talked to other people in the industry. What other things kind of help build up to you becoming a really well recognizable artist in the industry?
Well, I did not go to school for
Mm-hmm.
this. I just kind of, I honestly, it just threw myself into it. My father and my grandmother, they are both, well, my grandmother was, she's passed, but then my father, he is an artist. So I think the artistic side of it is just kind of innately within me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's nothing that I ever really thought about in terms of pursuing as a career prior to this, because I did not even know that that was a career, because this was prior to, this was before the days of social media, but this was before, like,
Mm-hmm.
YouTube and Instagram and all that. So I wasn't even aware of the fact that this really was an option until I started, kind of doing some research.
Mm-hmm.
um, I did reach out to, some local makeup artists, just by finding them on Google, and like, hey, I'm an aspiring makeup artist, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and I would love to be able to, take you out for coffee or something, or just chat with you for a few minutes on the phone and just kind of pick your brain, just to get, a better idea of what this looks like and how to go about this.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, there were, a few people that were very receptive and very helpful in, getting, helping me get started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. That's huge, and also I want to give you a kudos to having the confidence to switch what you're doing when you're at a young age as well. Because I think there's a lot of young professionals out there, or people just recently graduated from college, or just starting early in their career, or just their first job or even second job, and they're unsure if they're going to sustain that down the road or continue on that path. So huge kudos to you on that. First of all, you're our first professional makeup artist on the Daily Grind, which is awesome. On the other side, though, I don't really know too much about this industry. Do you think you give our listeners kind of like a little bit of background on the different areas that you specialize in? Briefly, I know you could probably talk for hours in regards to how big it is, but maybe kind of give us like a little bit of a general summary on some of the things that you do.
Yeah, for sure. And definitely, feel free to edit this as needed,
Mm-hmm.
or, cut me off as needed, because like you said, I could talk for hours about
Yeah.
this, because even still, after, 13 years, going at this, I still am very passionate about what I do. And like I said, I could just talk about it for hours. So
Mm-hmm.
feel free to,
Mm-hmm.
like, cut me off. But I mainly focus on, my main focus is pretty much on, like, production, which would be
Mm-hmm.
considered television, commercials. I do a lot of press tours, which is like press tours and press junkets. So that means, like, when a actor, actress, or director comes into town to promote their movie,
Mm-hmm.
They will have like a day full of interviews lined up, and so I'm with them, throughout the day, for their interviews. So that's so again, yeah, television commercials, press tours. I do a lot of corporate work, so whether that's video work for like their marketing materials, or photos that they need for websites. Work a lot with the CEOs and executives and whatever have you. Also do some print work, magazine type work, e-commerce, um, and yeah, that's mainly the work that I focus on.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, you mentioned like yeah, press tours, corporate work, just with the different clients and companies and businesses that you work with. How does that work in regards to being your self-taught individual, like freelancer makeup artist? Do you reach out to them? Do they reach out to you? Do you build your network and you just kind of over time based on your experience? Like, how do people grow? Let's say if I'm an aspiring makeup artist, like how do I start my career?
Well, I think that this is applicable to anybody in your audience. What I'm gonna kind of touch upon, and not necessarily just makeup, but that's just the
Mm-hmm.
importance of having that business side of things down. I have seen so many extremely talented makeup artists come and go over the years because they just thought that being good at their craft was going to be good enough, and that work would just kind of fall into their laps, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
they'd
yeah.
be wildly successful overnight, and that is so not the case at all. So I'm so grateful for the opportunity to have my background in sales and marketing, because that taught me so much about the business side of things. It taught me about how to talk to different types of people and on different levels, and to connect with, and the importance of networking and follow up and customer service, and all that kind of stuff that is so important to being an entrepreneur. So it's so much more than just about your actual craft, or the skills that, or
Mm-hmm.
the service that you're providing. It was really important from the jump to have a plan. You have to have a plan. You have to have some sort of clarity about what it is that that you're out here doing.
Mm-hmm.
um, and you have to have focus. So when I first started, again, I did a lot of research. I talked to a lot of people, and just trying to figure out what my plan was. And it's one thing to have a plan, but I actually wrote everything down. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's so important than just to have this kind of vision, or this plan or dream in your head, and then, kind of going about it like willy nilly, wake up
Mm-hmm.
every day like, so how am I gonna, what am I gonna do today? It's just so important to
Mm-hmm.
just have that plan, to have that mission, to know your why, and then work every day at it, and just to know that it's not going to happen overnight, and you're going to have to do your due diligence, and you're going to have to make sacrifices. But for me, my success, I remember when I was first talking to some senior makeup artists when I first got started. They told me, they're like, well, it's going to take at least 2 years for you to start to really generate any kind of money to um, sustain a living from.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, 2 years. I was like, I just moved in back with my father. I'm in my
Mm-hmm.
mid 20s. Like,
Yeah.
we're button heads and everything. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't have 2 years. I have like 6 months, 12 months tops at this. I
Mm-hmm.
remember the last argument we had was like over toilet paper. I was like, no, I gotta get out of here. I can't do this for 2 years. um, but so yeah, I was just really focused. And my I contribute my success, to, again, having that plan, and really getting out there and connecting with people, and telling everybody what you're doing. And because you never know who knows who, and who can help you with what. And
Mm-hmm.
but just networking, and then going at it, every single day. My thing was, I start from the get-go, from the jump. I treated this as my career. So
Mm-hmm.
I, as when you're working, when you're working a 9 to 5, that's exactly how I looked at this, even though I wasn't, generating any income initially. But I still woke up, super early every day, got in the shower, and, I mean, I was maybe probably in my pajamas, half the time,
Yeah.
but I was still, I was still putting in, those 8 hours a day of was for that day, whether it's reaching out to people like, hey, I'm a makeup artist, I'm looking to grow my portfolio, or I'm a makeup artist, aspiring makeup artist, do you need an assistant? Just reaching out to people, just learning, because again, I didn't go to school, so I still had to learn about makeup.
Yeah, definitely.
So that was, there was a lot of self-teaching there. So whether that's, looking at watching videos, or just kind of practicing, I was doing a lot of what we call test shoots, and that's when you would collaborate with a photographer or model, whatever, nobody's, paid at this point. It's all, the purpose of it is to, build your portfolio. That's like, you say you're a makeup artist. Well, you have to be able to show that you can do makeup. So I had to build a portfolio. So I remember, taking my little kit, and my father's like, all excited, I'm walking out the door. He's like, where are you going? I was like, I'm working. He's like, are you getting paid? I was like, not yet.
Yeah.
It's coming. But again, that's just goes back to the importance of having to do your due diligence, and having to, to work at it, to really put forth the, the time and effort to do whatever it is that you're trying to do.
Yeah, exactly. I think it just goes across any career, like you mentioned. It takes time to like hone your skills, and also to produce the content, and what you want to, build upon your strengths, and know what you're good at, and then be able to, use that in a workplace setting. And I think that's really crucial too, like you mentioned, to have a plan. So being able to stay focused and, accomplish the smaller tasks to build up to your bigger objective down the road, and getting paid and everything like that. You mentioned just you mentioned you had the corporate setting before becoming a makeup artist. Has that influenced what you do today? You touched a little bit about, having the marketing skills, but do you think a lot of things have overlapped and helped support your career?
Absolutely. I definitely, having that background in sales, I think has been integral in terms of my success, and how quickly I was able to, progress within my career. Like I said, I was told initially that it would take 2 years just to generate any kind of income, let alone an income to, sustain myself. But within 2 years, I think it was like my second year in, I was booked to do makeup on the show The Biggest Loser. So, that normally takes, people, you know, way more than 2 years to say that they have been able to work on. So that for me was, major. But having that background in sales, I think, I think the, regardless of whatever field you're in, having some sort of knowledge of skills or of sales is super important. So whether that's, taking a class, workshop online, or just reading books, but sales, regardless of whatever it is that you do, you need to know. You need to be strong at.
Yeah,
Because you're selling yourself, regardless of whatever service you're offering, whatever you're selling yourself, you're selling your service, so whether it's makeup or whatever, you're selling.
Yeah, definitely. I agree to that. I'm in the business world, but I can see that too outside a business setting, because you have to be able to, tell your story and share your story. And that's a lot of storytelling in regards to selling that story, presenting yourself in front of a one person, a group of people, or whatever your audience is. Have you had any, or would you like to share any like challenges or success stories that you had as an entrepreneur, I guess, as a makeup artist, growing your brand?
Sure, definitely. I think that as a makeup artist, or whatever field you're in, I think the biggest challenge that we have, like, as entrepreneurs, is that of fear. And just in general, just whether you're an entrepreneur, or just, you have a 9 to 5, or whatever have you, we all deal with fear. And I think that, for a lot of us, that can be debilitating. And that has definitely been a reoccurring theme over the years, for me. Whether that be fear of failure, fear of the unknown, fear of not being good enough, and dealing with, imposter syndrome, especially since I, never went to school for
Mm-hmm.
this, or like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but so there's fear has definitely been, one of the challenges that I have faced over the
Mm-hmm.
years. But what I've learned is to, that's totally normal.
Mm-hmm.
And, you feel your fear, you face your fear, and you do it anyway. For me, it's been, I look at it as like, I had to put things into perspective here. One, whether you're changing careers, you're starting a startup, or whatever it is that you're doing, starting your own business. Um, Nothing's ever permanent. And I had to remind myself that like, if I quote unquote failed at this, um, nothing's permanent, except for death. And I guess it depends on, what your beliefs are. Anyway, so that
Yeah, yeah.
technically couldn't be permanent. But anyway, point is that, like, if this didn't work for me, then I could always go back to what I was doing, or I could always do something else. That's not the end all be all.
Mm-hmm.
I There's this story that I read in a book, of, it was some war or something that was happening,
Mm-hmm.
and essentially it's talking about the importance of not having a plan B, though.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about, they were in the middle of some war. They took some ships to some island to go fight some war, but then the captain, pretty much like sets the ships on fire or something, or lets them loose
Mm-hmm.
or something, instead of anchors them when they get to the island. And all, his war people are like, wait, what are you doing? Like, how are we gonna end? And he's like, there's no, like, going back here. Like, we either win or we die. Like, the importance. My purpose of bringing that up is that, just having that, not having that plan B. For
Mm-hmm.
me, there was just like, it's like, okay, I have to succeed at this. There is no, failure here. My
Mm-hmm.
parents, when they found out that I, quit my job as a, successful business travel sales manager in the hotel industry, which they were so proud of, after sending me through college and everything, and they're like, wait a second, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just like, I had no choice but to succeed at this.
Just yeah, but you like going off what you said, like challenges entrepreneurs face, yeah, having fear in general. I think you touched on it really well, and just going outside your comfort zone, and that's sometimes, or I wouldn't say, sometimes, I'd say most of the time that's what you gotta do in order to go places, go farther, do something that you're passionate about. And I think you're a really great example. And like you mentioned before, the key takeaways for our listeners out there are to realize you do there are, people do have fears out there, and being able to overcome them, overcome challenges, overcome setbacks.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and just again, for me, it's I think I was moving towards just, touching upon the importance of, having that focus. And, again, yes, you have fears, fears of failure, fear of the unknown, fear of not being good enough, whatever have you, but you do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You face your fear, and you do it anyway. But for me, it was a matter of, kind of putting things in perspective. Again, um, like I had mentioned, like, nothing's permanent. If things didn't work out, you just tweak it, or you change, or,
Mm-hmm.
whatever have you. But then also, I have to remind myself that I'm not, performing heart surgery here either. And same thing for anything that you're out here doing, though. What's the worst that can happen? What are you really afraid of? And, so if you get out here and make a quote unquote mistake, or if you quote unquote fail, like, but that's how you learn.
Mm-hmm.
And so, okay, you get out here, and you feel like you've made a fool out of yourself, then, and you're concerned about what other people think, or whatever have you. But so what?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what I had to kind of learn over the years, and in terms of helping me, face my fear.
Definitely.
What are you really, really afraid of here, and what's the worst that can happen? And then I had to really think about instances where I was fearful, and where I did whatever it was, and I remember, when I booked my first press tour, I had no idea what I was, really doing. But it's like, you go in and you figure it out, and you have to have that, that faith in yourself, and in your ability to figure things out. But then you can always go back to those times where you were fearful and you did it, and odds are things worked out, and things worked out great. And even if they didn't, what did you learn from it? Because you always learn from your mistakes. That's how you gain experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very very well said. I think you hit the nail on the head there in regards to just everyone in general, whatever career that you're currently in, just being able to trust yourself and then learn from your mistakes. I guess maybe going forward into like your daily schedule. I know every day is different for work for you, but do you think you could walk us through as a makeup artist, like what you do, maybe with one of your recent works, or just like how the day goes and how the flow is, and maybe favorite things too that you do?
Sure, definitely. Um, I what I love about my job is that every job is different.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't say that, my life as a makeup artist looks like this every day, because
Mm-hmm.
every day is different and every job is different. And just because I'm not quote unquote working that day, like if I don't have a job, then I'm still at home working, whether
Mm-hmm.
that's, doing the business side of things, the bookkeeping, the networking, um, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But every job is different, every situation is different. But that's one of the things that I absolutely love about my about what it is that I do. And just yesterday, I was working on a national commercial, and it was a 13-hour day.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still, I still have to, kind of pinch myself. Like it's been 13 years, that I've been at this, and still on a daily basis, I have to pinch myself. Like I cannot believe like this is my life. Like you had asked about some successes or whatever. Like I could go on and on about the successes and the celebrities I've worked with, and not to to brag about it, but to just to share with you that and your audience that it is possible. I'm no different than anybody else. If I can do this, you can definitely do this. I'm just so grateful for. There's been so many just incredible opportunities. There the celebrities that I've worked with. I was like, I cannot believe that I'm actually in Al Pacino's hotel room right now, like, or
Mm-hmm.
people that I grew up with and had their posters on my wall, growing up as a child, and now I'm sitting there doing their makeup.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it still shocks and amazes me, um, and I'm just so grateful. I'm so incredibly grateful. But yeah, I've just this career has afforded me some really incredible, wonderful opportunities and experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, I still have to pinch myself, and it's like, wait a second, like you're paying me to do this, like, I remember when I was
Mm-hmm.
working with like the Chicago Bears, and I'm like, or excuse me, the Chicago Bulls, and I'm like oiling up, these like 7 foot tall muscular men. I was like, wait a second, I'm getting paid for this? Like, I should be paying you guys. This is
Mm-hmm.
amazing. um, but yeah, so yeah, every day is different. Every job is different, and
Mm-hmm.
even the quote unquote like boring jobs. A lot of people would consider, I guess, the corporate work to be boring, because a lot of that consists of male grooming, and these are just everyday people. I mean, these are like CEOs and executives and everything, but still, I'm clipping a lot of, nose hairs and powdering bald heads and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the glamorous
No.
side of
Yeah,
things,
yeah.
but the money is good.
Mm-hmm.
But besides the money, it still affords me the opportunity to really talk to these people, though, these successful people, and really kind of pick their brains, because you're in their personal space. I feel like, when you go to the hairstylist, you
Mm-hmm.
find yourself talking about the most like personal and intimate things sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing for makeup artists.
Mm-hmm.
People just really, it's, and especially if you have, a certain type of personality, people just really kind of open up to you. And it's like, even the quote unquote boring jobs where I'm doing this corporate work, I still take that as opportunity to, talk to these people and like
Mm-hmm.
learn, about their experiences, and how they got to where where they are.
Yeah, yeah,
So
definitely. Like your involvement with commercials, production, TV, video. beauty, fashion, everything in general. I was trying to scan a little bit of what's going on your Instagram. For instance, you did kiddos makeup for the Kleenex commercial. Can you like touch on a little bit of like maybe like walking through if you like helped did like a commercial? I mean, you're a one woman team, but do you work with other people on the set? How does that work?
So I guess you're kind of talking about like what does a typical production job look like? Is that what
Yeah,
you're kind of
yeah.
asking? Okay, okay. Yeah, for that commercial and a lot of commercials that I have, you are sent, you're booked on it. How I kind of got into that line of work, honestly, was just through a lot of networking and connecting with other makeup artists.
Mhm.
And 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 I stress the importance of that again, whether you're looking to pursue a career as a makeup artist, or any other industry for that matter, but just connecting with people, and connecting with people that are doing what you're doing, and really trying to and authentically connecting with them.
Mhm.
But I started in production. I think it was by assisting other makeup artists, and then they were able to witness firsthand, my worth ethic, my personality, and establish that trust. And so when they were able to take jobs, then they started passing on that work to me.
Mhm.
So that's how I kind of got my foot in the door with in the production world. But I do have a couple of assistants that I work with. So like on the larger jobs,
Mhm.
um, I'll bring an assistant with me. But you work closely in conjunction with the entire crew. So the director and then
Mhm.
the clients, they share with you their vision. Of what they're trying to achieve, for the commercial, obviously it was, working with a bunch of kids,
Mhm.
and it was a Kleenex commercial. So you had these kids that, they wanted to look sick, but not like deathly ill. And,
Mhm.
so you have to kind of, just discuss and figure out, what it is that your objective is for that particular job, what you're looking to do. And so a lot is going on. A lot of times, there's a large crew of, could be like, 50 people or so. And,
Oh
so there's a
wow.
lot
Mhm.
going on. So a lot of times, like maybe my assistant will be on set, just kind of keeping an eye on things while I'm back taking care of talent. So again, every situation is kind of different.
Mhm.
It's a lot going on. But like I said yesterday, the 13-hour job for the commercial, it was a long day, but still, even
Mhm.
afterwards, you just feel so amazing because it's like, this again is, I can't believe that this is my life
Mhm.
and I'm getting paid to do this. And it's just so amazing.
Definitely, yeah. That's so incredible. Just kind of see what you all do and stuff. And like I mentioned, I don't have a background in this, but I'm just curious to see the life in the shoes of Krystyn Johnson. Like you mentioned, you work with like CEOs, other corporate executives, Chicago Bulls. Is there with those different ones? Do you have to travel then to that client? Do they come to you? Do you do everything? You do most stuff I'm assuming, in wherever they want to have that project done.
On location,
Mm-hmm.
right,
Yeah,
right. So a lot of the production stuff, the commercials are done, on location, whether that's shot in like a large studio, um, or a lot of times, we just did like a commercial for Whirlpool,
yeah.
like laundry stuff. So they rented out, this large house that could accommodate, this huge 50, 75 person, crew or whatever. And so we will shoot there. So yeah, pretty much everything is done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, about 100% of my work is done
Mm-hmm.
on location, wherever you know, that location is for
Mm-hmm.
that particular job. I do work on a television show called Garage Squad, which is actually a
Mm-hmm.
car show. Um, but every week we are at a different house. We are at a different location. So we go to the homeowners, like the car owners'
Mm-hmm.
home, and we essentially bring like the shop to them. So that keeps me busy from April to September. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a lot of traveling. It's all here, pretty much local.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then just looking on your resume too, just like with all the different people that you've worked with and brands that you've worked with, do you have any like exciting stories, like recent ones or ones in the past that have to travel to that just they're kind of unique or helps, build upon your brand that you'd like to share with our listeners?
I mean, there's so many just
yeah.
exciting stories. And I don't mean to be that person,
no,
I'm not trying to be obnoxious about it. But even so, like I said before, I still just can't believe some of the opportunities and experiences that my career has afforded me. I was at the World Series working with the commentators, the World Series, like that's crazy. I was at the election, the Democratic, headquarters when Obama was reelected, like, and just to be a part of that, that was incredible. I could just kind of go on and on with different experiences. I've just been incredibly fortunate. I have been, but I use the word fortunate, very loosely though, but because I put in work, and that's so important to understand that, like, nothing just haphazardly fell into my lap. I really, really worked hard at this and continue to work hard at this. And, nothing happens just overnight. And you have to, really put in the time and effort. And one of my, the quotes I remember reading years ago was like, if you want to see your name in lights, you must first pay the electric bill. You have to put in the work.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying. Like, hard work pays off, and like I can see or just even of our conversation right now, I can see how much that you've grown over the years and how much experience and how much hard work and effort and blood, sweat, and tears, if you want to call it. Hopefully not blood.
There's definitely been tears for sure along the way. Then there's definitely been sacrifices that I've made along the way. But that's what you have to do. When you have these big dreams and these big goals, sometimes you have to make those sacrifices. And for me, I'm a typical Capricorn though, so I'm very career focused and very driven and ambitious. So, that kind of comes to me naturally. But over the years, I've definitely sacrificed a lot because, a lot of times I'll have to, I'll make the choice to, I can't go out with my friends tonight because I have to be at work. I have a 6 a.m. call time tomorrow, or, sacrifices in terms of just life in general. I'm about to turn 40, and me personally, it's I've been, so career oriented and everything. I'm like, oh wait, if I don't be careful, I'm gonna wake up and be that 60-something-year-old woman with like a house full of cats, and because I never took the time to, like, get out and date and and marry, and which is what I want to do, but I've just been so focused on my career. But I do feel like I'm at a good point, in a good place right now where where I'm really and starting to focus on getting that balance. So,
actually perfect transition. I was gonna ask you, with all the work that you do, finding that work-life balance. So do you have favorite things or things to like de-stress outside of work?
Yes, for sure. And at one point it was like, wait, what do you mean outside of work? Like, work is what I do for fun. And I still feel that way. But now I'm really at the point of, like, again, just really realizing the importance of that work-life balance, and self-care. Because as much as I love doing what I do, you still have to have that balance. So I've been I really enjoy spending, just time with friends and family and traveling. I actually just got back from the Philippines and Bali, and I went there with my father and his wife. She's from the Philippines. And, just spending that quality time with my father was just amazing. And I really just disconnected, and it was it was wonderful, and it was very much needed. Again, as much as I love what I do, the importance of taking the time to have that work-life balance is so important, and will actually help contribute to yourself, because if you just run yourself into the ground and run yourself ragged, you're not going to have the energy to do what it is that you need to do.
Definitely. Yep.
But so yeah, and then also in terms of just hobbies, I found myself getting into photography,
Mm-hmm.
just as a hobby, just kind of, you know, is just another creative outlet, and that has kind of actually kind of just spiraled into another source of income, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
But I do, again, besides spending time with friends and family and whatnot, I do enjoy photography. I
Mm-hmm.
enjoy like running. I
Mm-hmm.
watched Brittany Runs a Marathon. I don't know if you've
Oh
seen
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah. I've seen
movie.
that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I've never like been, I never consider myself a runner by any stretch of the imagination. And I've done like a couple like 5Ks, and I did an 8K and just one like 15K. And I saw that movie, and I'm like, I'm gonna sign up for a half marathon. So yeah, I'm training now for like
Mm-hmm.
a half marathon,
Yeah.
which will happen April 4th. So just in a little over a month, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I definitely enjoy
Yeah.
working out and
Mm-hmm.
and the photography thing, and spending time with friends and family. And I'm just really trying to make more of an effort to again have that work-life balance, and to focus more on myself
Mm-hmm.
and the things that I do enjoy.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear. Yeah, Brittany Runs a Marathon. That's a great movie. I've seen that. Myself, your host Kelly Fast here. I'm a big runner. I'm running Boston in April. So, yeah,
Nice.
good luck to you on that upcoming
You as
half. It
well.
definitely takes time. Just even outside a career in general, for me, running hard work. You have to put in the hard work in order to build up to that longer distance and whatnot. Do you have also for our listeners like favorite books do you read like other podcasts, things that you follow that you want to share to help motivate them out there?
Yeah, definitely. If we're talking about in terms of like business, and I think that everybody needs to read the classic book, um, Think and Grow Rich,
Mm-hmm.
by Napoleon Hill. If you look at any uber successful, entrepreneur or business person, they have this on their list of must-read books.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And if you're not a big reader, don't have the
Mm-hmm.
time, you can actually find it for free on YouTube as an audiobook. And I listen, honestly, I'm really big on personal development
Mm-hmm.
and self growth and everything. So I listen to just a lot of different audiobooks, while I'm in the car. So I don't watch any television other
Mm-hmm.
than 90 Day Fiance and Married at First Sight.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, um, if I'm home, then I'll have on music or I'm listening to some sort of audiobook. But the one that I always come back to and I listen to or read at least twice a year, for the past probably like 10 years, honestly, is Think and Grow Rich. And even after all the times I've read it,
Mm-hmm.
or listened to it, I still find something applicable or something that I didn't hear before. Some sort of nugget that's like, oh yeah, let me apply that, or I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah, we'll for sure put that book in our show notes for today. Krystyn, we talked about your daily schedule. What's on your daily grind in the upcoming weeks later this year?
My daily grind. Well, starting in April, I think I mentioned to
Mm-hmm.
you that I do that television show, Garage Squad, and that
Mm-hmm.
keeps me booked from April to September. So that starts in April. But outside of that, I'm really looking to kind of scale my business, and then also just kind of grow in general, and grow myself, my brand. I'm actually working on two ebooks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's kind of in the works here, and also updating my personal branding, and my website and all that stuff, that it's just so easy to,
Mm-hmm.
because when you're entrepreneur, whether it's makeup artist or whatever have you, again, people, yes, it can be super super uber glamorous, and travel, and it's so great, and everything,
Mm-hmm.
flying on like private jets and everything, which I've done, yes, for sure, but so much of it, it's not glamorous.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
there's a lot of staying at home and being in front of the computer and doing that kind of work, that networking, and following up on invoices, and and that kind of stuff. So I have a lot of that to catch up on.
Mm-hmm.
But I am, like I said, working on 2 ebooks. So I'm in the process of that, and then these are things that have just kind of fallen along the wayside because I've just been busy with so much other stuff. But like I have to update my resume and portfolio and stuff like that. So I'll definitely be working on that.
Definitely.
Within the next few months.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of things as an entrepreneur that go for like as a consumer, you don't see the behind the scenes, what goes on.
Yeah.
So I can feel you for sure. You're keeping busy, as I can tell. Do you have a word of the day to motivate our listeners out there?
My my word for 2020 is is faith.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm not speaking faith as in religion, but faith when it comes to just um, your life on a professional level, a business level, and just personal level. So just the importance of just having that faith in divine timing, and having that faith that if you put in the work, the results will follow. The results will come. You just have to put in the work, and you have to have faith in that. You have to have faith in the universe, and most importantly, you have to have faith in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's definitely my word of the day, and even bigger, that's my word for 2020. It's just faith and having that complete trust and confidence in something and in yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like it. It ties in really well with today's episode and your story, Krystyn. How can our listeners reach out to you if they have questions, comments?
Yeah, for sure. Your listeners can find me on Instagram. I'm really trying to do a better job at this whole social media thing. But I am on Instagram at Krystyn J Makeup, and Krystyn is spelled KrystynJ Makeup, and that's all one word. And then my website is just Krystyn Johnson, and that's KrystynJohnsson.com. And you can find my email on there, which is Makeup by Krystyn, Makeup by Krystyn, Krystynat gmail.com, and that's all one word.
Wonderful. Thank you, Krystyn. And we will put her contact info in the show notes for today's episode. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in today's episode. And a big thank you for Krystyn for being on the podcast. When it comes to sharing my story, be sure to follow the Daily Grind at KJF Daily Grind on Instagram and me, your host, at Kelly J. Lefty on Instagram or Twitter. Be sure to go to our podcast network website, ambiguousproduction.com, for more content such as You Mad Bro, the Sam Buslow Podcast, and GDP, Goal Driven Professionals. Listen on Google, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. Until next time, my name is Kelly Johnson, and have a great day.
Thank you, Kelly.